What does it take to not only be the best, but to keep on being the best? Champagne Salon has earned a cult-like status amongst those who appreciate the Maison's ability to make some of the finest but also most exclusive Blanc de Blanc in all of Champagne. Limited to just 50,000 bottles per year for the entire world, Salon commands some of the highest prices for a single bottle each release and often tops out the secondary market for champagnes from much older vintages. It leaves many champagne lovers waiting patiently just to get a sip. Since 1997, Didier Depond has been president, but also managing the day-to-day operations of Champagne Salon and also Champagne Delamotte, which fall underneath the stewardship of Laurent-Perrier. Under his leadership, the Salon has seen the elevated and phenomenal demand for its champagnes by maintaining quality, but also through restrained accessibility. It was my pleasure to interview Didier during his time recently in Melbourne, Australia. So Didier, welcome. It's amazing to have you here in Australia.
Thank you.
There is only one type of Salon, a single wine, which when released is so easily identified by the distinctive green bottle with a large S emblazoned across the label. In a world where champagne is ubiquitously marketed at high-end events and festivals, sporting events, and even at retailers, Salon doesn't buy into any of that. There is a restraint around how you do things, but with that comes an even more exclusive and limited offer to discerning champagne lovers. But it's also by design because your volumes are very small, of course, very limited releases provided to champagne lovers. So can you talk us through what makes Salon so limited? The idea that it's a wine of one variety, one vintage, and sourced from one village.
So it's quite simple. In fact, is really the answer starts with the idea of Mr. Salon, Mr. Eugène Aimé Salon. He decided to produce this champagne, his own champagne for his own consumption, not for the business, just for him and for his friend and for his family. And he decided to produce this champagne for the first time at the beginning of the last century. And the first vintage for Salon is 1905. And he decided to produce this champagne with a special idea, 4 special ideas. These ideas were special 120 years ago, but it's still very special today in this century. Mr. Salon decided to produce for the first time in Champagne 100% Chardonnay champagne. So it's the creator of the Blanc de Blanc category, in fact. And he decided to produce this champagne with only Chardonnay and Chardonnay only from one village, Le Mesnil-sur-Oger. It was a big surprise for all the people at this time. And he decided to produce this champagne only when the vintage will be outstanding vintage, a great vintage to age. And he decided to produce this champagne and to keep the wine minimum 10 years in the cellar before to release the bottle. It's 4 absolutely crazy ideas, and still today is the same methods. So it's why it's so special. It's only 37 vintages in 1 century for Salon. And when we declare a vintage for Salon, it's only 50,000 bottles. Average volume is 50,000 bottles. In the same time, today in Champagne, all the brands together, the champagne produce 300 million bottles every year. And for Salon, it's only 50,000 bottles every 3 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. What strikes me as being really interesting about Salon is that origin, the fact that there was one man who took it upon himself to create Champagne's first Blanc de Blanc. And when you think about it, it's actually quite extraordinary because, why didn't anybody else think about doing that? And of course, historically, Champagne is a wine of the blend.
Exactly.
And, every Maison was doing some sort of a blend. So I'm just wondering, this man seems quite special to me.
Very.
Quite unusual. My understanding is that he was making Blanc de Blanc initially for his personal consumption. He was a Burgundy lover. And so that makes sense. I just wonder what makes him want to go commercial with it. Because the palate wasn't quite there for audiences. They didn't know anything about a Blanc de Blanc back then.
No, it was new. It was new on the market. It was a new category, a new taste for the people. And because still today, Champagne, 90% of the Champagne today is a blend with the Chardonnay, the Pinot Noir, the Pinot Meunier blended together, the different years blended together, and the different villages blended together. And it's a crazy idea from Mr. Salon. And the good point, in 120 years today, after 120 years, we keep exactly the same strategy and the same idea. There are no pressure to change the volume or the concept of Salon, because Salon is a real concept. We are alone with this in this situation with only one wine. It's only one cuvée. There are no range for Salon. Of course, Delamotte is the sister house of Salon, but for Salon, it's only one wine.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, I think, commercial proposition as well, because it's a bit risky in
yes,
so
absolutely.
many ways, and it would have been for him.
But because Mr. Salon, at the beginning, it was not a commercial idea. It was just for his own consumption. And a very important point for Salon was during Mr. Salon was really in the Parisian nightlife, he was a very trendy guy in Paris. And Salon became the house champagne of Maxime in Paris. So Maxime, at this time, beginning of the century, during les années folles, Maxime was the most trendy restaurant in Paris. All the kings, the actors, the stars around the world visiting Paris and dining in Maxime. Maxime was very trendy, and Salon was the house champagne of Maxime.
It was a great opportunity to get in front of an international audience, really, and to whet their appetite.
Top level.
Absolutely.
Top level.
Yeah, very smart indeed. So when it comes to style, Salon is known as being very distinctive, held up by incredible structure, but also very mineral styles of champagne. What are the stylistic aspirations for the Maison?
So it's direct and simple. It's really the terroir, the soil of Le Mesnil-sur-Oger. It's unique. It's absolutely unique. The choky taste of Salon. Salon is it's why Mr. Salon decided to keep the wine 10 years in the cellar, because still today it's very, very extremely difficult to drink a young wine from Salon. It's with a very high level of acidity, high level of bitterness sometimes. So this wine needs time.
Yeah, it does. It is a unique terroir, very special Grand Cru terroir. And I want to ask you a little bit more about that because, again, by design, you source very small amount of fruit from grower network that you have contracts with, but also you've got a very small amount belonging to the Maison as well.
Le Jardin.
Exactly. Can you please talk to us about that and what is the historical significance of Le Jardin, and also what do you think that brings to the ultimate blend? Is there a particular style that the fruit brings to that blend? So
certainly Le Jardin, the small parcel is less than 1 hectare and is the original parcel of Salon. And in Le Mesnil is certainly the most deep parcel in terms of taste. When you taste grapes after wines from this parcel, from Le Jardin de Salon, it's a very distinctive taste. The choke is only 20 centimeters of ground, and after is the choke for 200 meters. So the roots of the vines is directly in the choke. So it's the taste is super special, and the choke give the minerality, but as well, very important, the salinity. It's why Salon, when Salon is young, it's always very salty. And it's why as well, the matching with seafood. Seafood is a very good matching with Salon.
Okay, so quite concentrated, quite saline. And so is this because there are also some older vines there as well?
Yes.
The concentration and
the concentration and is as well the potential for the aging is the potential.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm interested to know then, you said before about it, the champagne being pretty consistent and true to its original self. Has it evolved at all over time though? Have we seen winemakers come and go that have impacted the ultimate winemaking process, made some key decisions based on various things?
Not really, because we don't change a lot the winemaking, the winemaker and the winemaking. Yes, in fact, in more than 1 century, it's only 3 winemaker in 1 century. So it's very simple.
Yes.
And including for me, I'm not the winemaker, of course, but I'm working with the winemaker, and I am in charge of the company now for 30 years. So it's very consistency, and we keep the same vision, the same strategy. Exactly.
Yeah.
And we know perfectly the old vintages. So, and the style and the image. And in 120 years now, it's only 2 different labels for Salon. In many brands, including luxury brands, every 10 years, they change the label or they change the logo or something like this. For Salon, is the
consistent.
same. Consistent.
So I'm wondering then, we're going through, a number of years now, over a decade, where we're seeing increasingly warmer and warmer years in Champagne. And some people talk about it in terms of climate change. And I don't want to go too far down that path, but certainly in recent years, we've seen a lot of that happening. And I'm just wondering, from your point of view, that sort of racy, linear quality that is so desirable in limonene fruit, are you noticing an evolution in that, some changes in that fruit? And I'm wondering, does it impact your style?
Not today, not yet. Of course, the global warming is in France, is in Europe, all around the world. The only change for us today, but it's just the beginning, is the date of the harvest. For example, the current vintage of Salon now is 2013. And 2013 is the last vintage harvested in October, beginning of October. Since 2013, all the harvests were in beginning of September or end of August. So we move minimum 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the normal time of the harvest. So it's the real big change for us. But in terms of grapes and taste of the grapes, the acidity, the pH is still the same. Another change in the vineyard is the new birds and the new insect and the new trees, because the trees and the vegetation come from the south of France and arrive slowly in Champagne. So it's another change for us. It's not only the temperature, but new animals, new insects, new birds, new vegetal around us. So can gives an influence on the vineyard and on the grapes as well.
Yeah, it's interesting too. There's been a push, obviously, from an environmental point of view, to encourage biodiversity across Champagne, and we're seeing more and more maisons, more producers in general, just heading down that pathway. So we are going to see, that impact, I think, in the vineyard as well. I want to know from you, though, because we've just spoken about some vintage variations and the ultimate result on the wine, but do you think that there is a particular kind of, environmental influence that is perfect for a Salon wine? What sort of year makes a great Salon wine? You don't make one every year. Mm-hmm. So what makes it worthy of Salon?
So we need, and it's not easy in Champagne, despite the global warming, we need the perfect balance between sugar and acidity. Sugar and acidity is the key for us, but it's not enough, of course. We have the savoir-faire of Salon, the know-how of Salon, of course, is special. And the key is the selection. The selection in the vineyard, the selection in the press, just before the press, during the harvest, and the selection in the cellar. And after, we select the vin clair during the tasting, the final tasting, 6 months after the harvest. And it's a very heavy decision, of course, because 37 vintages in 1 century, it's unique. Of course, it's perfect for the quality, but it's not perfect maybe for the business. So in terms of finance, we need to manage the because sometimes it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years without vintage. So means no sales, no money. It's very simple. So we need to manage this situation, but fortunately we have enough money to maintain this strategy and to give this image for our Salon. Salon, the production of Salon is only when the vintage is outstanding.
Yeah. So Salon also falls under the ownership of the incredible umbrella of Laurent-Perrier, which also includes Delamotte champagnes, which you mentioned before. Another favourite of mine, and also a little bit more accessible than Salon as well. And another amazing Chardonnay-driven brand. Laurent-Perrier oversees all the winemaking for these brands. So how does this actually work in practice? And how do you prioritise fruit for the making of Salon, for example, versus the needs of the other maisons?
Yes, but it's very simple. In fact, there are no priorities there because Laurent-Perrier owns his own vineyard, Delamotte his own vineyard, and Salon his own vineyard. So
you don't share the fruit?
No, absolutely not. Okay. So the vineyard is completely dedicated to Laurent-Perrier or to Salon or to Delamotte. So we don't fight internally. No, it's very, very, very simple because the Chardonnay for Salon is only from Le Mesnil. So
Of course,
we
yes.
keep the Chardonnay for Le Mesnil. And
Yeah.
it's quite simple. There are zero discussion about the origin. Yes. No, it's very simple.
Okay, so can you maybe describe some of the differences then between Salon and your sister brand Delamotte?
So it's simple as well. But Delamotte is the sister house of Salon, and Salon is the little sister, the young sister of Delamotte, because Delamotte is very
Much
old.
older.
Yes, absolutely. Created in 1760, 265 years ago. And the style is different because the origin of the grapes are different. For Delamotte, it's much more a blend of Côte des Blancs, the different villages of Côte des Blancs. And we use only Chardonnay from Côte des Blancs and only 100% Grand Cru. We use grapes from Le Mesnil-sur-Oger, Auger, Avise, Cramant, Chouilly, and Wary. So it's really the best of the best, la crème de la crème, the top of the top. And for Salon, it's only Le Mesnil-sur-Oger. And the aging as well for the wines. The vintage, for example, if you want to compare the vintage Delamotte and Salon, the vintage Delamotte is six years of aging, and for Salon, it's 10 years. An exception is the collection. Delamotte collection is 15 years of aging in the bottle before the disgorgement, before to release.
Okay.
So, but it's a very, very exclusive and small quantity.
Yeah.
We keep only 3,000 bottles of this wine for the collection. And yes.
So the fruit sources are different, obviously, but what about the winemaking? Are there any clear differentiators between what is actually going on in the
we don't use wood for Salon.
Oh.
You don't use wood for Delamotte. It's a steel tank. We love the freshness and the purity of the wine, the cleanness of the wine, and all the specialists, the amateur and the sommelier love this style because it's fresh, clean, and direct, very straight wine. Yeah. Of course, Delamotte is much more accessible than Salon in terms of price and in terms of tasting as well.
Premium.
Yeah, exactly.
You drink straight away.
Absolutely. My importer in UK said about Delamotte is the easy champagne to drink for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I said it's a good idea to start champagne, and especially Delamotte for breakfast.
That's a good sell for you then.
Yes.
I wanted to talk to you about the collectability of Salon because it has to be one of the most collectible champagnes and has an amazing status as amongst wine collectors around the world. And, you know, Salon, Krug, Dom Perignon, you can argue sit at the very top of the aspirational range for any serious wine collector, and the wines seem to age endlessly and gather enormous value over time. Earlier this year, I saw that there was an incredible champagne auction held by Sotheby's where a magnum of Salon Le Mesnil Blanc de Blanc 1990 sold for 25,000 euros, where the estimate was between 9,000 and 13,000 euros. And similarly, there was a 1988 magnum sold for 22,500 euros, more than double what was expected. And there are so many other examples as well. So they really took the lion's share there with the auction. So what is it that makes Salon so collectible? Because
it's certainly the potential of aging. Because if you buy a magnum of Salon, a bottle of Salon today, you know perfectly the price will double in the 5 next year. Yeah. So it's why the collector collects Salon. And the most important for me, if you drink this wine after 5 or 10 or 20 years, the wine will be perfect.
Yes.
And it's very rare to find a wine perfect after 30 or 50 years. For example, a nice example is, of course, collection sometimes is to collect the wine and to drink the wine later. And sometimes collection is to make money with the collection and to sell the wine after the wine or the I don't know, the cars or the watch after a few years because the price. But is the most important for Salon for me is the image. The image of Salon is important. 6 months ago, 1 year ago now, the King Charles from Great Britain, came for the first official visit in France. Is the tradition, the first visit of the King is in France before the Commonwealth and before is really the first visit. And the French government called me to buy a bottle for the King, a bottle like a gift, the official gift for the King. There are many possibilities in France for a gift for the King. but it was a bottle of Salon because Salon is really the representation of the exclusivity of something special and rare.
What an amazing honor that was.
Yeah, yes, it was. Honestly, I was very proud about this event, and I was proud for me, but I was proud for my team because all my team, they were super happy, and it was beautiful and nice to see all the team in the company all together yes, exactly.
Well, it goes down in history too,
yes.
Right? So what are some of your personal, most memorable Salon moments?
It's difficult. It's maybe your most difficult question because every day when I drink a Salon bottle, it's an emotion for me. But maybe I have one or two special emotion. For example, maybe a bottle of Salon 48 and 43, maybe 43. 43 Salon was incredible because the wine was perfect. A wine after 80 years old. The wine was still with acidity, with bubbles, still with a potential. And for me, the potential is really the key in a discussion because everybody now around the world produce wine and said, okay, my wine is a great wine. No, sorry. A great wine is a wine with a potential of aging. If you drink a young wine after 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, it's maybe a good wine, but we don't know if it's a great wine. A great wine is a wine after 20, 30, 50, 70 or more. And the wine is still alive and still present and still drinkable and with potential, with still the story is not finished. And yes, I remember this bottle of 43. It was amazing.
Yeah, I have to say, I haven't really heard anybody reference a 43 before. So that's really interesting. But I think most of the opportunities for Salon came post-war as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And this vintage 43 was just in the middle of the war. And it was the last vintage of Mr. Salon. Mr. Salon passed away in 43.
So it's sentimental as well. It's amazing. So you are in Australia right now, touring the country. And tonight we're celebrating a really beautiful and exclusive dinner with you at the Ritz-Carlton in Melbourne, featuring champagnes from Salon and Delamotte. It's actually an extra special occasion because the dinner will mark the launch of the Ritz-Carlton's Champagne Club, which will provide very exclusive and bespoke champagne experiences only to members. I just wanted to highlight that because those listening in Australia are always looking for a wonderful new opportunity to explore champagne. So this is a great opportunity and they can become a member by reaching out to the Melbourne Ritz-Carlton team. So to finish, what do you enjoy most about engaging with people over really beautiful dinners such as these?
So for me, to be at the Ritz-Carlton is very special because I spent 3 days now in Ritz-Carlton and I saw already the quality and the level of service and the quality of the food as well. It's quite unique. And for me, it's an evidence. Salon, it's with Ritz-Carlton. It's a champagne for Ritz-Carlton and Ritz-Carlton has for Salon, of course, because we are in the same world or exclusivity or rarity or and service. And service is a very important word for me. It's just for the pleasure of the people. Just the service is to say, thank you, madam. Thank you, sir. You are in Ritz-Carlton and you can drink Delamotte on Salon. It's evidence for me.
Yeah, it's going to be a wonderful evening. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I know you've been a really busy man. It's wonderful to have you back in Australia and to be able to taste these exquisite champagnes, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Wine & Bubble is a boutique and independent information source dedicated exclusively to telling the real story of champagne. It was launched by me, Sarah Underdown, in November 2018, after almost a decade of working in the champagne industry as a recognised writer, educator and presenter. Wine & Bubble brings together a network of Australian wine journalists, sommeliers, educators and industry representatives as regular contributors. As a team of champagne lovers and communicators, we are thrilled to share our united passion with wine-loving audiences. To read more about champagne, to subscribe to events in Australia and learn more about opportunities to join us for experiences in champagne, visit wineandbubble.com and register your details.